Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. Spencer Israel, as always, joined by Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. On today's show, we're just continuing to observe this trend of the market punishing acquiring companies in M&A deals. So we're going to talk about who got hit on their deals yesterday. Facebook is, of course, trading lower this morning. As I'm sure you heard, the Instagram co-founders are leaving the company. And we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about in our chat rooms on YouTube and premarket.benzinga.com. Our guest today, Nick Shaheen, author of Create Income with Option Spreads, who will join the show at 8:35 as he does every Tuesday. Joel, what is the word in the overnight session?
We're right back up at the 29.30 handle basis of the December contract. Caught support just under the close of 29.25 and a half at 23 and a half. Pre-market high 34 and a quarter. Not a bad number. That's clearing Friday's close, which was 33.75. Beyond that, you have your all-time closing high at 39.50. Coming back, if we go into reverse, I bet you'll find support if you get near that closing price of 25 and a half. You have Bitcoin trading down $240. This is the Bitcoin futures at 63.70. We'll talk about that in a minute with Dennis. Crude continuing its move from yesterday, up 37 cents here at 72.45. Crude approaching its highs of the move. Gold up $1.50 at 12.05.90. Silver up just 2.5 cents at 14.37. Dennis, 8:03. How you doing this morning?
Still sick. It's kind of moved into the chest cold now. You know how you get like afterwards? You have a pretty bad flu virus, knocks you on your butt. Well, now it's kind of in my chest here. So I'm like coughing and my chest hurts. So not fun. I'm hoping to get over this thing eventually. It's been 1 week here now, so not a lot of fun.
I love working with you, but I'm glad you don't work in the office because, man,
I complain.
Yeah, you whine.
I do. I
complain. Sick, and you're like every other trader. Do you know that no trader on the floor ever made money? Not one guy.
I know, that's the way I'm the same way. I like complain. I could have like 50 positions, make money on 49, and complain about my one loser. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Traders complain. We're negative Nancy's.
All right, let's just start with a little bit of review.
But you know what the difference is? It's funny. Like, okay, the guys on the floor, but what about all the traders on Twitter? Because they never lose.
Oh, I know that.
All of my traders that I follow on Twitter, those guys never lose. I never see anybody posting on a losing trade. So it's funny. The floor traders must not be on Twitter because I tell you, if they were, you'd be seeing a lot of complaining on Twitter. Maybe I should start complaining more on Twitter. I don't know if I've done it before. I don't really talk that much. I only tweet maybe once or twice a day. But anyways, we digress once again here, Joel. Bring us back.
No, I want to know if anybody on Twitter has ever had a losing trade. Because
no, I don't think so. I don't think any of them lose.
It's funny when they post too and they get the prices wrong, and you're like, wait, how did you buy it at that price? It hasn't traded there in 3 months. But anyways, I want to talk about all the merger and acquisitions yesterday. And a lot of times they hit the acquirer. We've seen, special instances where it hasn't happened. My first question to you was, the Sirius satellite Pandora. I mean, Pandora and giving it all back here, and you were figuring the ratios. We gave the ratios to everybody. Did you get down and dirty and try and play that arb yesterday?
No, I did not, and I typically don't play them on day one. And why is that? Because the risk arbs are adjusting. There's a lot of adjustments to the pricing, and maybe on this one it would be different because this obviously is a smaller price deal, so it's not as much to figure, but a lot of times you see these deals come out and there's some adjusting going on by the risk arbs on day one. I usually wait till the second or third day, and then I'll start playing them. And these are just side, I keep notes of all the deals and the ratios. So when I see an opportunity, and typically intraday you don't, where you see the opportunities at the close, at the open, maybe after hours, I like to trade those pricing too, when it's a little less liquid. But the one thing about Siri is it's never less liquid. It's always fairly liquid, and Pandora is a fairly liquid stock too. So I'm not sure there's going to be a ton of arbitrage opportunities in there. But if there was, I would try to take advantage of them.
All right, and then another acquire or thoughts of acquire for Coors, and we did talk about that on the show.
Yeah.
Michael Coors, long trading range, and you could look at the daily chart, and you say, wow, you could get chopped up trading at 71.5 to 74 and change. But just the fact that they were thinking of doing the deal, wow, they whacked that thing right from the opening bell. I don't even know did you get a gap in there? No, small gap, 72.13 open, 15 high, 38 was yesterday's low. And then they took it all the way down about buying Versace or Versace. Remember Dick Versace? He was a coach of the Pistons a long time ago. But Dennis, you saw some after hours action in that, didn't you, in Coors before they actually announced?
Last night the stock was getting bid up, and maybe it's because it got hit. And there's often people who want to try to buy it on the cheap, and they see, oh, this was down 5 points intraday. I'm going to come in here and buy it after hours. But it was bid up last night. It was bid up heavily into the 67 handle, and I took a short position because I was like, I always like the 2-day move. So when I see, 1 day of weakness there, I often think there could be follow through the next day as you get nervous Nelly's coming in. So I did short last night after hours. The deal helping me obviously here this morning because the stock not only giving it all back, the after hours gain last night. I mean, it was trading like 67, like 60, 67, 70. It's trading up 80, 90 cents last night. So I come in this morning, deals announced, the stock's in the mid 65. So I was able to bank 2 points. I've already covered in the pre-market there. And I look at this, and it did get down to 65. I wasn't lucky enough to get that price. I was covering 65.5, and just right in this area, 65.80 as well. So I'm all out of it now. But the reason, again, that I was shorting last night was when I see weakness in a stock, I often think there can be follow through. And a lot of other people think opposite. They think, oh, okay, it's going to bounce right back. From my experience, stocks typically don't bounce right back. I mean, maybe there's people speculating the deal wasn't going to happen. That's why they were bidding it up. But anyways, whatever the reason, that doesn't matter to me. I just seen the bounce, and I'm like, I'll take a shot, and it worked out.
All right, another acquire, usually a slow-moving stock, but really got the beach yesterday. Comcast here. They've been bidding with Disney, back and forth, and then they got the Sky Communications deal or Skyworks or whatever it's called, and that opened lower and only popped 32 cents before that got pounded. Got down to 34.75. Did rebound and close on the day at the 35.63. Good support under 35 here. That's kind of after the fact as you hit 34.73 yesterday. But see if you get back $35 area support. Thinking they overpaid on the deal. Any comments on Comcast?
I got a position on almost everything overnight here. I'm short. I'm short in the pop. It popped last night because Kramer came out and defended it. Maybe that's the case. I'll probably lean on this 36.27 high from yesterday. Starts to take that out. Maybe I cover it and say, okay, it's going to bounce back. But we're getting a nice pop here. The thing got down to 34 handle yesterday. So I'm just banking that it can maybe get it back. These are day trades. I will take this off here today. This isn't a swing trade. Right now, I have a couple swing trades. I'm going to talk about those in a second. But for day trades right now, the only I have actually, let me tell you how many positions, 19. Not as many as I thought. I initially said I have 28 positions on for overnight and day trades here. So these are trades that I'm going to take off today. So when I say, a lot of times I got a position on it, I like to disclose. I think you got to disclose if you're in it or not because I'm talking about it. But, these are positions I've already got on. And these are positions maybe, so last night, we know how I like baiting CNBC. I talk about it all the time. And stock popping because Kramer was giving a positive props last night. So it's up 40 cents, and I think it's too much. I think it's overshot. So it's trading 36.03. I think there's a shot that I could get this back at 35.63 or 35.70. I'm taking that shot. Now, overall market is going to push it up a little bit here this morning too. But things just struggle to bounce back for all the reasons that Joel and I cite. There's a lot of people who are caught in this thing now. So overhead supply above you here. That's why I think the thing could come back in.
All right, Dan. Bucking the trend on the acquirer going down was ABX, and that's trading sharply higher this morning. Synergies of the deal. This one never. They're still laughing at my 1080 bid, which was at the the top of the trading range from the day or top of the last 4 or 5 highs. They like the deal. They like the synergies. Nice volume yesterday. And then Citigroup, what do? They gave it an upgrade or something today?
Well, you have 2 upgrades here this morning.
2.
Citigroup is upgrading it, and TD Bank is upgrading it. The TD Bank, that's one of your big Canadian banks, so that will move it probably even more so than the Citi. So you got the double upgrade here today. Citi and TD both liking it. I did not read the notes, Spencer. I'm not sure if you have them in front of you. I'm assuming, but the reason I talked about this deal yesterday and actually was, giving it some props and saying, I think they could actually rally it on this. I don't know if I said that, but I was thinking it at least, if I didn't say it, was because of the synergies. We talked about that. They need to get that cost of production down, and maybe this is a deal that's going to help. Is that what the analysts were saying here? I'm just speculating.
I didn't see the notes.
What the reasons are behind the upgrade? Anyways, whatever the reasons behind the upgrade, I just think, in my opinion here, I think we need some consolidation here because gold price is not bouncing back anytime soon. And if they're going to sit down here in the 1200s or potentially go lower, and your cost reduction is 1150 or whatever it was when last time I checked Barrick Gold, you need to figure out how to get that down. So maybe you start combining some of these companies, maybe they get that cost production down lower. But as of right now, a lot of these companies are geared up to lose money here at these prices.
All right, and let's see here. Just, I don't know if Spencer mentioned at the top of the show, I think a little reason for our green here, trade deal with North Korea. We'll see what happens. As long as there's
green
no
overall. Talking. You got to watch him on these tangents because he just goes somewhere else.
Just trying to file the doc here.
There's a doc? I didn't get the doc. Is there a doc?
It's funny.
Spencer. Spencer could send it to you for the 47th time.
You want to see my doc? Here's my doc. Here's my doc. See all these scribbles and chicken scratching here? This is what I do to look at the show. All over. If you could try to make heads or tails of that. Try to zoom in on it. This is my doc. This is how I run the show. It's a bunch of tickers. So I just noticed tickers from last night that I like and I write it down. So anyways, and I have 4 circled here on this sheet. You want to know which 4 stocks are on my sheet and they're circled?
Square.
Square would be one of them, and we're going to talk about that one in a second.
Did we already talk about the other one?
AMD is one of them.
AMD.
I have it circled for a breakout. I bought it yesterday after hours, and I've already sold it because we know me. So it went up 40 cents for me, so I have to ring the register. Anyways, it was an overnight trade anyway. So I come on today, it's up 56 cents, so I ring the register. I have GE circled. Why do I have GE circled?
Because it made a new 100-year low yesterday.
Yeah, it's getting bit up here this morning, and I think it gives it
you
back.
Gotta buy
so I've shorted GE.
Oh, you shorted it? Oh, okay. I thought you
not Joel. I'm the one. Don't you listen to me? I've been preaching GE at $9 forever. I'm like more bearish than JP Morgan.
It's Deutsche Bank. It's Deutsche Bank.
No, it's JP Morgan now too. And it's Dennis Dick. We're all the bears on GE. Anyways,
it's not going to $9.
We had an ugly couple of days here. I think you can follow through again here. I think GE goes negative. So that's what I'm banking on. We're getting a little rally, not much of a rally. 6 cents in the pre-market is a big bid there, but I don't think it lasts. So I think even by the time it opens, I think it's negative. But anyways, those are the stocks. Was that all of them?
I think we got 3. Yeah, AMD, GE, Square, and what was the other one that you just
Actually,
not Facebook, is it?
No, it should be Facebook.
I should
have Facebook.
All right,
let's go to Facebook.
Let's go
now.
Facebook.
It should have been Facebook. You're correct. Let's go Facebook.
All right, for the second time this year, a company that Facebook acquired, their co-founders are leaving. This time it's Instagram. The co-founders, Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, are resigning from the company. This joins the founder of WhatsApp, who left Facebook in April. So a more executive departures from Facebook.
Stock is trading down $3.50 in the pre-market. I'll just say, you know what?
I know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
You're going to say that if you want to own Facebook and you want to put it in your portfolio, sure, you have it in your portfolio, but it's going to come back. You're going to say this is going to come back off.
I think so. And I'm talking my book a little bit here, but I'm talking more from a trading perspective. I think 160. Got to hold the 160. Yeah. Back and hold. Even you go 159.48. But I think, if we test down there, I'd like to see it hold yesterday's low, which is 160.88. But I think this is one could bounce back. So we're down 4. You got a few people who were sniffing around the lows before. They get another shot here in the pre-market, maybe at the open. I think you could bounce back. What do you think?
I not only like from a shorter term perspective here.
Well, I'm talking short term perspective. Long term, I have no idea.
I'm talking short term and long term. Like, let's say you wanted to buy this thing on the dip here. It's not the greatest looking chart here. Had a good couple days, or had the expiration, got up to 167.25. I think, if you're really looking to put this in long term, you think you finally found the bottom. If you're getting it in the 161 handle, you're for a swing trade. If you go down to the low of the move at 48.77, you're talking about 3 or 4 points with, if you think this thing is actually going back to 200. Also, I think this is a reset for shorts that were in here. A lot of people are short the stock. You see it trade 167.25 on Friday, and you're like, oh, if I could ever get this near 162, I'm bringing this in. Boom, here you go on the announcement. So I mean, for me, I think it's a gift for the shorts here, and also
I think so too.
Yeah, that's just the way. So watch Facebook go to 150 today. We're both bullish, but
yeah, there you go. That's what happens when me and Joel get on the same side. It goes the exact other way. The only swing trade the only swing trade I have on right now, and this is a definite swing, is Alibaba. I bought it yesterday, and I've got this on, and I'm trying to I'd like it to get back up to the 170. I'm not sure about that, but I bought it yesterday because I'm just looking at it here. I've said before, I think the low end Baba's in. It went from 170 to 160 in 2 days there. So on fears, that we're not going to get a deal with China or whatever it was, we got to 169.84 on the 21st, and yesterday went all the way down to 160.10. I bought this as 161 and change yesterday, and I'm stopping out below the 160.10 low. So I've got the stop out just below or yesterday's low, and I gave it, down to 160. I think we got to put my stop at like 159. Might as well just tell stop hunters. I think I'm like 159.85 or something on my stop. But anyways, it'll be a mental stop probably because I'll be monitoring it. But if I'm not there, I do put the physical stops in sometime if I've got to leave. On the swing trades. I never do it on day trades, on swing trades. But anyways, getting a little left here. So I'm actually up 3 points in it, or 2.5 points in it right now. My target was the 170, but we'll see. I think 168s, 169s would be nice, but just looking at that little, what do you think? You got a little rise.
Yeah, a little.
You kind of see what I'm looking at. Lower highs, higher lows,
gaps
just in the last week and a half.
Yeah.
And I think, if a deal does officially get announced with China, I think it explodes. And I think we're going to get that eventually.
Also, I like it. I like this 161, 162 area. One of my go-to maneuvers is the 50% retracement. You had a low at 52.85. You kissed 170. Call that 17-point move, 8.5. That takes you out to like 161.25, 161.50. You got a little bit below that yesterday when you got to 160.10. So if it's getting off the mat, if this is a rebound, you're getting a little reset, the 50% retracement of that move, and then really important for it to clear 170, 169, 84.
I'm probably going to be out, though, at that 170. What do you think of the trade? So I'm just trading in the range of 170 and 160. Buy the lower end. Where would you sell if you were in for a swing trade? So I only risked. So when I bought it 161.25 yesterday, I think is what I paid.
Yeah.
I was only risking $1.50. So if I do my 3-to-1, that's 4.5 points. I've already got 3, another $1.50. I've got a 3-to-1 risk reward. It's almost hard not to take that. This was a pure swing trade, earmarked in the swing trade portfolio with a stop. So I was risking $1.50. And you got to understand slippage a little bit too. I mean, it came in, Baba could be down 3 points, and I would have to sell it. So just because you're risking $1.50 doesn't necessarily mean you could get out with only $1.50 loss. So the point and a half when you're going overnight is a little bit an asterisk there.
Right.
Because sometimes the slippage will get you.
Well, on your risk reward ratios, 2-to-1, wherever that takes you. I just like it above yesterday. It's above yesterday's high at 163.40, and you got a lot of air in there. It came down hard yesterday. I mean, if you want to target above that, 165.88 was your close on Thursday. So if that fits within your risk reward ratio, but instead of trying to pick a target, Dennis, why don't you let it breathe a little bit? See if it moves up today and then just move the stop up. I mean,
yeah. And you know what? I've done that before where I've had swing trades on that turn into long-term investments. I know everybody's done this the other way where you have swing trades on that turn into long-term investments because you're losing in them. I actually have had those work out where they turn into like big winners. And I was like, you know what? This is just going for me. And I'm just going to raise up the stops, like you were saying, raise up the mental stops, raising it up. And sometimes these things just keep running. You catch yourself. And this isn't like your typical like uptrend stock. The stock is still in an overall downtrend. So I don't think this is going to start exploding or anything like that. I think we're going to get a deal with China here eventually, though. And that's why I think you can really get a pop. But so that's kind of a wild card. I mean, if they announce there's no deal, it could go down here again. But we've already had that multiple times. I think. What do you think? I think we're getting a deal here.
I think so, of course. I mean, it's all conjecture. I mean, it's all negotiated. Of course we are. I mean, or if not, it's, we'll back
don't you think all these Chinese stocks that have been in the gutter like forever because, in the last month and a half because of this trade war, don't you think those all get relief pops big time on the actual news of the deal?
I agree. Oh man, we're great.
So I want some exposure to China. Right? I don't know why. I just feel like it's coming. I feel like we got a deal coming.
Well, you got levels to lean on too. If in fact,
we're not going straight down anymore. I think the market's trying to tell you too that there's a deal coming, and we bounce back a long ways. So maybe a little bit of a deal's priced in, but EEM is well off the lows. FXI is well off the lows, and here's Baba giving you a shot not that far from the lows yesterday. That's why I took a shot. I mean, now, if you look at some of these smaller Chinese plays, those don't look as good, but we talked about those yesterday. Those are completely separate from Baba. I mean, these were Momo plays that have now become no-nos, like HUYA, complete breakdown through 25. This looks like it doesn't look good at all. And then, obviously, HUYA, IQ, all those kind of broke down yesterday, although IQ held the low, which is good, but the HUYA, that's a breakdown through 25. That doesn't look as good.
Gone Fishing wants to know if you play the options on these higher price stocks, triple digits, stocks, or the actual stock.
Yeah, I'm an equities guy. I've traded options throughout my years, but that's not my focus anymore. I mean, I've got some, I've got prop money here, so it's not like I need the leverage. So, if I feel like, if I want exposure to 1,000 shares or something, I buy 1,000 shares of it. A lot of people don't have $163,000 to play with, so they can't go out and buy $163,000 worth of Baba. I do. So when I'm buying options all the time, you're paying those premiums. So that's why I don't like, I've never been a fan of buying options because the time is always working against you. When I own the stock, the time isn't a consideration because you own the stock. So you don't have to worry about time premium decay. So, I mean, I'm not saying, if you've got money, you shouldn't, do options. I'm just saying I'm an equities guy. I don't need the leverage. If I like the stock setup, I just buy a stock.
Okay. Also, before we go into more equities here, there was just some news. I just wanted to, this is not all news, that Mt. Gox, that exchange, the defunct exchange, since March 7th, that exchange has unloaded 26 billion yen or 230 million of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. That is, had an effect on the stock or on the futures. And Dennis and I were talking about this with Spencer on the pre-market show, hanging out here a long time over 6,000. Yeah. And the Bitcoin here, and holy macro, we better just start getting away for 6,000. When stocks do this, when they're in a downtrend and then they have a pop, and then they just kind of hang out near the low, not looking good here. So under 6,000, you can look at the futures, you can look at the cash. The actual all-time low is 57. This is the futures, 57.67. So, man, just hanging out here. So I don't know if we have any Bitcoin traders left, but just do not like it. Just
hanging out too long. Hanging
out too long. Yep. Not away from
that's what I've said before here on the show is I think, and can we show that chart of the Bitcoin? I don't know if we're showing it.
It's up. It's up.
Anyways, okay, so there it is. When you hang out the low, this, like people are saying, this put in a hard bottom, 6,000, this is like a rock now. You know what? When you put in a bottom, from the bottoms and from my experiences, like they go and they come and retest and then they bounce. I'm not seeing any bounces anymore. And now we're getting sucked into it. We've been down here so long, I almost feel like it has to take it out. So they don't let you buy the bottom for 3 months. So we've been down here since June. We bounced 8,000 once, but then, the bounces have been less and less. So I feel like this is going down. I feel like this is just from a technical perspective. I've said before, I like the 6,000. I don't like Bitcoin at all long term. We all know that. I've been a Bitcoin bear forever. But I said short term, the 6,000 is support. And before we moved the run to 8,000, me and you were both on board saying, if you were just looking at this chart, you know it's Bitcoin, I'd probably be a buyer. If I was just looking at this chart, I don't care if it's Bitcoin or what it is. I think eventually it's taking out that 6,000 because just hung out here for too long. I think support is going to, I think everybody who's bought this now at support is leading on that. And I think you're going to have a washout. So is that down to 5,600 or 5,800 or 5,500? I don't know. But I think it's taking out the 6,000. That's my opinion.
I want to save our tickers for the end, but a good one just popped in here that I want to cover. Nike. You got Nike trading 68 cents in the pre-market. And I don't know. You seen any?
Well, that report's tonight.
Well, their earnings are scheduled.
Is it tonight?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this is a classic. I actually had this on. I bought the close because I'm like, it typically runs up ahead of the report. So I bought it at the close. It ran up last night. I sold it like 84.75 because I got 50 cents last night, and that was what I was trying to extract. Is just a little run up before the close. So it's up another 20 cents here today because the overall market's probably helping it. But they typically just runs up in the report, and that's not just Nike. It's a lot of stocks, and we know I like that strategy, buying them a day or two ahead of the report, sell them before the report. It worked for me again on Nike here. I was able to extract almost 50 cents last night.
And if you are trading Nike, you had sellers the last 2 days here ahead of the report. Pre-market high, let's see, we're pretty close to that. 84.92 is where we're trading, up 65 cents, a little bit of volume here. I don't know. I think if people were selling last 2 days ahead of the report, man, I think they might be selling today as well. You got a little seller here hanging out at 85. What would be my focus today would be 85 and a 26. That was the high for yesterday. And then if you feel you need to get out at the all-time closing high, if we get there, that's 885.55. Big expectations for Nike here. I mean, just run up since its last report. The Colin Kaepernick buy, I guess we could call that, when it dipped under 80. So nice run. They're gonna have to blow things away.
Yeah, that was the absolute bottom and opened that day right at 79 and never went lower. So that was the deal. A few other stocks here. We're going to go to ratings. We're going to get balances here in a minute. So lots to talk about. Let's just quickly go over to AMD because I had this on my breakout filter. I did buy it yesterday just after the close. And it did run up here, but man, the stock is just a monster move yesterday. It just looks like it's gearing up here again. Like fundamentals, who cares? This thing is just gearing up.
Yeah, and I just can't get this thing right. I just been playing it small. I don't know. It's like sometimes you just get things in your head and they're totally wrong. And I'm just totally wrong.
I don't think you can be short the stock until it's under 30.
Actually 30.50, and like I'm thinking that it had like 4 lows in the same area. Well, 30.51, 30.64, the exact double bottom. I'll tell you right now, if you're an active AMD trader, keep an eye on that opening print. And it doesn't happen every day, but I'll tell you, a lot of times that opening print, and it's not going to be like a nickel or a dime. Like yesterday, I know it had a price target raise. It opened up at 31.13. It matched the low from Friday right away, and then it was just a beast all day. And I was looking at that at the close, and I'm like, man, this thing's going to be higher tomorrow morning. And then it was like ding, 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 ding. And then what, did it get a price target increase or what? I
don't think there's anything.
There's always
every day there is something with AMD.
Gosh.
Today it's
what's today?
Today it's KeyBank initiating a neutral, but that's not.
But
every day there's
just got momentum.
Analysts.
It's just hot. People want this thing. I mean, it's up 50 cents. I'm probably going to regret the sale. I was able to take 40 cents out of it. I sold it, and I'm probably going to regret selling it anyways. But because this thing just continues higher. But pullbacks, I think, as long as this thing stays, Joel's saying 30.5. I'll just round it to $30. I think it's not a short case until you get it below 30.
Yeah.
And this continues to just
be a beast.
Continues to be an unbelievable mover.
33.37. That was your high. Actually, pair of highs right at the 33.25 area. You're trading 33.13. The recent high of the move has been 34.14, but nice bump up, consolidation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days, and now you're getting a nice move up here. And you know what it does? I looked up at the beta on that stock, and you know what it is?
What?
4. Is that possible?
What do you mean? Yeah, like 4 times the market right now?
Yeah.
Is it 4?
I
can look it up right now.
Yeah, I looked over the weekend and I thought
AMD. Yeah. What do you have, Spencer, for the beta? You're probably right. It's crazy.
It's probably 4.
I thought it was 4.
It sounds right. I think it's crazy. Beta.
I think it's one of the highest beta.
Right now, current beta on AMD is. I don't have 4. I don't know. I have 1.67.
Geez,
well, I've got 2.78. So
I don't know.
No, wait. But you can do different months. So 6-month beta is 1.96 over the last 6 months. 1 year is 1.41. 5 years is lower, obviously. So I don't know. There's all kinds of different things you can do there. So, and regardless,
it's
I guess it depends on your time and what math is going into that. But regardless, this moves a lot more in the overall market.
Okay, let's take a look at imbalances here. We're at 831, and
G has a post. So, but they just smacked a whole bunch of 1180s. There was 100,000 share bid in the pre-market 1180. They just gave them to him. So I have not seen the G post, but I don't know. Somebody's hit 100,000 1180 just now after 830. So I don't know why it's a 0 still. Maybe the designated market maker went to the bathroom, didn't turn the system on. I'm not sure, but there's nothing for GE here yet. But they did hit it, so I think it's been we've been talking about for a while. Something like GE is selling balance every day. Another reason why I'm short stock right now. Coca-Cola 57,000 to buy. They are small, man. This is the smallest balance I've seen in a long time. Barrick Gold 61,000 to buy. We know the double upgrade. Already talked about that. There's nothing in the balance land. This is just crickets over here.
Okay.
Crickets.
All right, almost 8:33 here. We got. Should we call Nick a little bit early and see if he's on?
Bring in Nick. Yeah, I need to get relieved here because I gotta blow my nose or something because I am stuffed up again. This cold has been wicked.
Okay.
More complaining.
All right, we're going to be joined on the line by Nick Shaheen. He's the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. He joins us every Tuesday morning at 8:35 to share his technical and fundamental outlook on the market. Also does just an incredible job whipping up charts on stocks that we just bring up out of nowhere. Let's see here. Where is Mr. Shaheen? We'll be getting
him early. Maybe he's in the
bringing him on right now. Yeah, it is a little early, so I don't know if.
Good morning.
He's always ready.
I'm here.
He's always ready.
I'm ready.
Mr. Nick, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Sick. I've been complaining the whole show. I don't know if you've been listening, but I've been complaining for like 5 days now. I got a cold last Tuesday. It's been 1 week here now. I've still got a cold. Now it's like moved into my chest. My whole chest hurts. So I am like bitterly complaining about everything right now. So if you cross me here, I'm going to complain.
I won't cross you. I wouldn't dare. Have I in the past? I don't remember.
No, Nick, he's always good like that. So, well, how's it going?
Pretty good. You're trying to recover from the weekend. This is when you know you're old, when you go out for a few days and then it takes a week to recover. Yeah.
What you do over the weekend, Nick? Did you do some race car driving or?
I wish. No, somebody's birthday, and we all went out as a group to a casino, which reminded me that I'm a terrible gambler, but I win at the buffet.
So Nick, what do? Do you just do you try and fade everybody? Like you
try to write calls at the crab table?
Yeah. How do you do that? What can you do? Because I just can't. What do you just like? Someone comes up with a table with $200. And you say, I will give you $100. Okay. Just go away. Leave the table. I'll take your 100 and I'll save you 100. Is that what you do?
Assuming I play at the tables. No, I am not a good gambler. So I just go where the other guys and girls want to go, and I just keep them company. I'm not a big high roller, so to speak. We watched a couple of comedy shows, and that was it. So.
Okay, that sounds like fun. We already covered Facebook, but yep. I want to talk to you about it because I think you've been active in it a little bit. Man, it looked like it was trying. It looked like it was going to get away. Maybe just put in a long-term low, and then you get that news today, trading down 370 here. Is this hit the reset on trying to do a long here? Or what are you seeing for us in Facebook?
So Facebook, I am long, but I played it as a calendar into the earnings. And yesterday I did post that I trimmed my profits because I had a favorable candle in some of them. So I did leave long. So this morning I will have some red into those, but I will reload the ones I closed yesterday. I don't know if people leaving that founded Instagram, I think that's the headline you're talking about.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a reason to ditch a stock. First of all, I'd be shocked if they can do exactly what they did for Instagram and Facebook, and I'd be shocked if it'd be up to speed fast enough to be even competitive to Facebook. And so I think it's the wrong thing to sell it down 3% on the headline. That's my opinion. Unless the markets in general can continue to fall, I think the recent lows should hold. But if they don't, they could invite some selling. So it has some support through to 150. But my idea is to go long into the earnings. Hopefully, by the next time earnings, they've stopped begging the forgiveness for something they didn't do. That's my only complaint about the company fundamentally, is that management is too worried about opinion, and for something they actually didn't do anything wrong.
Okay. I want to go in here to the pot stocks. I know that you like to trade stuff off fundamentals. Obviously, the fundamentals are very skewed here, and you were doing some battle with Tilray. TLRW, and you made some good calls. I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but it's tough because I actually did a few options on NBEV, and boy, oh boy, you gotta be crafty with your orders and stuff and things like that. Then it gets halted, and then the options don't come back up for 3, 4, 5 minutes and stuff. Could you just touch on that that tussle with Tilray?
Yeah, I think we talked about Tilray last week, and right after we talked about it, it just blew up. So I got lucky. I shorted CGC Canopy and made some money off of it. And the day we made money because of the headline that came out about the Border Patrol. Remember, I said rigatoni, and you guys were like, "What?" So anyway, the Canopy growth profits we rolled.
I don't think we weren't like what, because we said the same thing.
Okay,
we basically all said. I actually bought after that day on the pullback, made 20%. So I definitely don't think it was us.
Yeah. No. The actual rigatoni statement, you didn't know what it meant. So, but anyway. So
back to the rigatoni statement here.
Yeah. So rolled out of the profits into from Canopy into a long Tilray because of the headline. I thought it was bogus to sell a company down on a headline that someone said that they won't let people in here if they're investing in pot or something like that. I thought it was ridiculous. So went long that, and then it blew up. And like you said, I have never had a harder time booking profit ever. I was begging for the stock to fall in order to book spreads. I just couldn't close my spreads because I couldn't get a quote. And even yesterday, I was able to buy back the short puts I had sold at $32. My exposure was at 32, and the stock was at 250 or 240, and I couldn't close them. So finally, I even had to pay 35 cents to close those. So it was a hard pay, but I just wanted it off the book. So it is a wild stock. You plug your nose and you do what you want with it. I think it's range bound between whatever ranges we saw lately. 97, 95, and people say it's never going to get to the 200 and something. I don't know. I wouldn't short it. But if you want to go long it and sell puts and put spreads, fine. But it's hard to get a good quote. So ask for you better know your prices. And what you see is definitely not what you get in the quotes.
All right. Let's go to Trader X here in the Google chat. Do you mind asking Nick what he thinks of the rising wedge on the S&P 500 daily?
Well, typically a wedge is a problem because it's going to break down eventually, but you can't time it. So I would trade the technicals and the fundamentals. So the fundamentals don't tell you that we should fall because the T&Ls are still healthy. So I wouldn't fade it just because it's a wedge unless you have levels. So if you have a trigger on a particular formation, then I would trade that, but don't see I've seen wedges go ballistic higher that are rising wedges, and I was like, okay, I'm going to fade it. Like AMD, for example.
Oh, don't mention AMD.
Yeah. Okay, so that's one wedge that people probably tried to fade it for a while, and it's not the right thing to do. So play the ranges, know the levels where you should get in and out, and know the pertinent levels, and then trade those. That's my opinion on the wedge. So I wouldn't short it just because it's a wedge. I would short it if you have a thesis that the Fed's going to say something terrible this Wednesday and you want to short it. But I can tell you one thing: if we get a new high, there'll be buyers. It invites new buyers.
As far as, looking at levels, the low from last week here, or a low from Monday is real important to me. We got down to 29.1775. We're 13 handles above it. So, you had a lot of fluff, a lot of buying on the expiration. So, sold it off yesterday. Now they're bringing it back. So keeping a close eye on yesterday's low. Coming here, let's go to I Can't Feel My Facebook. He loves Constellation Brands here, and no one ever talks about it with him. Can you talk about STZ here?
Sure. Let's see here.
I'll tell you right now, 220. You takes out 220 here. Two of your last three lows, 1943, 1950. That's a hard top, $2.50. That would signify another leg up here. Nick, your thoughts on Constellation Brands?
Sure. Like you said, I'm with you on the level, but it's not a hard line in the sand. I mean, it might be 220 exactly, but for me, it's a zone. There's a funky candle in there, so that kind of makes it definitely a zone. On what is that? Somewhere in August, middle of August, there was some sort of a reversal there. I don't know what happened, but if this neckline area is taken out, maybe you can see some sort of an inverse head and shoulder bullish pattern. So they're testing a neckline from higher lows, and if they break through the neckline, they overshoot higher, and there is that open gap on the last earning. But in my opinion, that open gap probably happened on a fundamental reason. That's what happens in earnings. Usually they come out with saying something about future earnings. So you have to know the stock and see if that problem has been alleviated. Otherwise, this level might be resistance for a while until the next earnings and see what the company says. So if I'm long, I wouldn't get out. I would probably trim a little bit, but I'd stay long into the earnings as a bet. The earnings reaction is always binary. Even if we know the results, we don't know how they're going to react to it.
Interesting on the downside as well. You have a pair of lows. Let's just call it 214.40. So a little bit of a range bound here. So it breaks. So I like that as well. DC1 wants your thoughts on Teva Pharmaceuticals here.
Sure.
Volatile stock here. Hit 25. We're backing off. I mean, it's still an uptrend, but I'll tell you, this is a pretty volatile $20-some stock. Any thoughts on Teva?
Yes. Don't listen to what I say on Teva. I make money for other people on Teva. I have no idea how to make money for myself. So I made good calls on Teva, and I had personally terrible timing. Even when I say, okay, this is the time to go long, somehow I mess it up and everybody else makes money. So technically, it's kind of stuck in a range right here, and the range is expanding. So I bet you a breach of either side of the edges will have legs. So there was a huge collapse on earnings like 4 earnings ago or something like that. So I don't know what happened there. But there's also a nice neckline from which they broke out recently, which is around 21.3-ish. It's a zone. And so that should be support until it's not. So that's one of the edges. The other edge is on the upper end. So if you draw a channel, it looks like an expanding cone or something like that. So any breach of the trend lines, the upper or lower trend line channel will probably have legs.
All right. How about Symantec, SYMC?
I understand something happened this week where it's bullish. I can't remember exactly what. Oh, some investigation or something like that. So if that had pressure on the stock, I wouldn't. If I'm long, I stay long. And there is a couple of candles to overcome. I don't know what it's doing this morning, but early
flat.
July.
It's up 7 cents. I would have.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think the candle that it made yesterday, a breakdown of below 21.37, you got a gap fill. And if you could clear 22.16, that was a high you had yesterday. Stock's really been, though, overall downtrend here. monthly resistance too, also at 22. So that's a big number for key on the upside. Nick, I don't know this one, JONE. This is a reverse stock news here. It's trading up $3. I'm not seeing any news on it. JONE, Spencer, are you seeing anything on that one? I don't know what to tell you.
There was a split recently.
Yeah,
There's another one now.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's an ugly chart. I mean, talk about wedges. This is a falling wedge. I don't know anything about it. So
we usually don't. I would just say if you're looking for more on this, you just want to see it take out 980 and just keep on going, and then above 980, you could see 11. But this is one that if you're hopping in off the open, you want to see it just continue to rally. This reverse split, or else it's just a really bad stock. Comes down from over 350 down to 652. So can't really tell you about that one. You got something on that, Spencer?
No,
I don't.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we can find some other symbols here for Nick. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, we got a few in the
go ahead.
chat.
Take it over, Spencer.
Nick, you have thoughts on Netflix here?
I am long. I have profits in it. I think it's up 40%. It was a call calendar I did, similar to Facebook, same strategy. I don't think they'll disappoint so badly 2 quarters in a row. And this was an early trade for earnings. If the recent highs are taken out, that thing is a beast, in my opinion. I don't like, I don't like their fundamentals the way they are, but they're proving me wrong almost every day. But I didn't short it based on what I thought. I played the price action. So this is where you put your feelings aside and you think about the potential. Inverse head and shoulder-ish pattern in the last, from late August, I think. There's a neckline, and if it's breached, it's going to spring back up to 400 plus, in my opinion, and that was my play. I'm lucky enough to have greens, so they've gotten to be big enough to where I can book some and roll them into a lottery ticket into the earnings that is completely paid for. So I am long for now.
What about PTC Therapeutics?
I don't know the stock, so let's see what it looks like. Okay, so tightening. I don't know what it's doing this morning, but it's as of yesterday's close, tightening range below 101-ish. I'd worry. Meanwhile, there's a descending trend line of lower highs, but if that's breached, it could probably recover the 107.
Wait for PTCT.
Oh, PTCT. I'm looking at PTCT.
For that one, I'm just saying that one needs to hold 44.5. You backed off the high. I see great support at 44.5. What do you got on it?
There's a pivot zone that I'm looking at. Again, I don't know the stock, and it's interesting enough that zone is kind of like the upper end of that. Whatever heck happened in June let's see it. Yeah, I don't know what happened. There's a funky set of candles back there. But here recently, there's a pivot zone around 43.80-ish eyeball. So it's not a hard line in the sand for me. So play around that. They broke out from it recently, so they need to, onus is on the bull, in my opinion, is to prove that they can use it as forward support in order to continue. I don't know what it's doing this morning. But that's one level. Below that, there's 42.15 that sticks out, and below that is 40.2-ish. On the upper end, obviously, the recent high has been kind of a roof at 48-ish, and if that's broken, 50 plus.
Here's a tough one. Someone wants to know, Johnson & Johnson, was that the top on Johnson & Johnson yesterday? Pretty open. It was not the top because the top was made the day before. No, it's not even the all-time high. The top 143.13. I'd say this one, I mean, to me, instead of, trying to pick a top in this one, I just keep a real close eye on 140. I see 3 of the last 5 lows in that area. Nick, any thoughts on Johnson & Johnson? Do you ever trade that, Nick? Do you ever trade J&J?
I do, but once something gets to be so high, I punt it forward. In other words, if I can't find any levels that I can trade with confidence, I just don't trade it. So I did trade it a while back, and I can't even remember where and what, but looking at the lines on my chart, I probably sold puts where that yellow line is. So that's the way I traded. When it was falling, I do remember. when after the big trend line of lower highs, the falling wedge, I saw some stability. Then I said, okay, maybe it's now bottoming to spring up, so I'm selling puts. But the beautiful thing about that is I don't even need the rally to come, so I only need them to actually solidify the floor. And the reason I chose the floor was not a coincidence. If you expand the chart into a monthly chart, you'll see that this is a pivot point that dates back almost a decade, years. So this was a level of confidence where it's like great company, good P&L, decent valuation. Yeah, I'll sell puts. So that would be the way I would trade it. Up here, I wouldn't want to short it because I don't know anything bad about it, unless you want to technically short like earlier we talked about a rising wedge, but then you'd have to get granular and find a like a 2-hour level short. Okay, so if I go to a 4-hour level, 140 needs to hold.
Yeah,
and below that,
just meant,
138 and change. But really, the bigger pivot is 137-ish, and then below that, it's 133-ish.
Okay, I keep on saying that this is going to be all right. We're going to do 4 more stocks with you, Nick.
That's fine.
That's it, and then we're going to let you go. And this one I don't have much on. GLNG. This is trading up. I think that's an odd line print there. Yeah, don't get faked out, Nick. That was only one share that traded there up at 29.35. So knock that out. 28 to 29 was the range from yesterday. I don't know. I'd say you got to get above 29 for another leg up. I know absolutely nothing about this company.
I don't either. So, I can tell you that there's some sort of a roof line around a 30 tick. Yep. So if I'm long, this is like, let's say I got long the stock at around the right time, 25, 26. That line would be my exit points until they tell me otherwise. Who's they? Until, the bulls say, okay, we can push through it and not even fade. Otherwise, they probably want to breathe a little bit without an event and then try to retake it again. Rarely do I see them just burst through prior levels that have been this sticky. So probably if you want to invest in it, you have to go back a couple of earnings and read what the heck happened for that giant dump candle 2 earnings ago, and see if that problem has been alleviated or not. So you're going to have to put some fundamentals into the technicals here.
I'll do the next one, Nick, while you're pulling up a chart for Steve Roberts on JP Morgan. I see NIHD trading up 96 cents here, $6.14. Pretty good volume associated with. Haven't been able to identify the news yet. Pre-market high, that comes in at 634. And there's a couple pesky highs in that area, 633, 625, just another one over. So, opens into this, resistance and stays, above 630, 640. Maybe you take a poke at $7, 695 was your August 2nd high. And then JP Morgan here, we have a Fed. What are you expecting out of Fed today? And what are you expecting out of JP Morgan?
Well, they tell me it's a premier bank. So I've always said when the banks were falling, they are too cheap. You guys are selling them wrong. If you remember, there was a day where they all fell 4%. I sold as many puts as I could and a whole bunch of them. And that was my last trade on the banks. Recently, I said the XLF looks like it's frisky technically. And I think the next day it popped. I didn't play it, but I did recommend it as a trade. Up here, I'm not touching the banks because rates are, you remember what started the correction in February? It was
the 10-year over 3%.
Yes, the CNBC announcement that the 10-year was the end of rotation of the earth and at 3%. And that was the start. Well, today I think we were at 3.11 and counting. And I think last week Art Cashin uttered 3.25 is where he'd worry. And I think he's the oldest guy on CNBC. So I'm pretty sure as we get closer to that, and we will, because technically rates should shoot up from here. Now, the fact that Draghi has his rates at negative to 0 tells me that it shouldn't, but the chart says, oh boy, it is. So be careful. Yes, banks profit from higher rates, but stocks won't, and banks won't rally without the stock market. They'll pop for a few days. And in other words, I'm not going long here.
That's a
Let's
good
put it
point.
this way.
We've been on the line with Nick Shaheen. He's the author of Create Income with Option Spread. Joins the show every Tuesday at 8:35 to give his technical and fundamental outlook on the market. Great, Nick. We kept you a long time. Really appreciate it. And we'll be chatting with you soon.
No problem. Always a pleasure.
All right. Let's bring in Dennis here. And Dennis, any action here while we had Nick on the show?
We're actually giving it back a little
How
bit in the S&Ps. We've come down significantly here. You know what? There's not a lot of buy imbalances to help the cause here. I think we're just a slow leak. So you're seeing some stocks, not a lot of stocks in the red, but nothing heavy in the green either. A few oil stocks overseas are trading higher there. Square is up substantially. We haven't talked about Square yet, and that is up. It's got 109,000 to buy. More analysts, big price targets on Square. It seems like analysts are just all over this thing and obviously to the good side because they keep either raising their price targets or upgrading the stock. And 3 of the last 4 days, we've seen somebody go to a street high on Square. So it's a battle who could be the highest price target on Square. And obviously, Square shareholders are reaping the benefits this morning. Spencer, who is it this morning that's decided that they need to be at the top of the Square price target?
It is Nomura. They've given a $125 price target. They also said that Square is about to join the FANGs. So I add S to the FANG acronym. FANG. Oh, there already is one. FANGs. There we go. That's it.
Anyway, stock up significantly, $125. So who do we have? It was Thursday. Somebody went to 100. Then Evercore on Friday went to 101. Now we got Nomura Instant going to 125. I mean, it's just a battle. Who can have the highest price target? So Square shareholders continue to benefit. The one thing I will say is, though, it seems like it pops and then it seems like it gives it back. But anyways, major resistance up here as you get close to 90. That's where we struggled. Can it get through there eventually? I still think it's going to take 100 eventually. I don't know when. Fundamentally, I don't own it in my investment portfolio because it's just too expensive for me. It doesn't fit my value description. But technically speaking, the stock is just loved still, especially by the street analysts.
I will just give you a level that coincides with a daily level. That's what we like to give you here. 88.67. We just hit that in the last bracket. And then you have your 4-day high at 88.56. So you are opening in your 4-day high. If that's not good enough for you, your 5-day high is 89.38. And then you could just pick out your other highs, 91.95. But you are opening into your 4-day high here in Square. Let's talk BlackBerry. That's the symbol on it now, right? BlackBerry Limited. They're due to report. I had this on my doc. When are they due to report here? I think that's Triple BY that's reporting on Wednesday. Not sure when BlackBerry is going to report.
It's just double B now.
Just double B.
They're due to report what's today? They're due to report Friday morning.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
Don't they always make a penny or lose a penny? Isn't this one of these stocks?
Yep. That's it.
You can anticipate it's either going to make a penny or lose a penny. 1050 is kind of like the line in the sand here. Yep. We're right there right now, just in the last 3 months. I know we've snuck above it a couple times, but you know what level jumps out at you when you look at the chart for 1 second? It is 1050. Get above there, you can break out to 11, but when does it report?
Friday morning.
Could you have a run up ahead of the report? Maybe this is one I might be interested in. If you can get above 1050, and that's a big if. Then I would say it gets interesting. We get above 1050.
Yeah, but then
maybe you do play it for the run up.
I don't know. And then I see
before the report, not holding it through the report.
And then I see 3 highs at like 1070, and then 2 highs at like 11. So I mean, it's tough. I mean, usually this is when it will move pretty good after the report, and then if it doesn't, like if it has a good report, it opens up way high. A lot of times it fades. It has a bad report. It opens up real low and then it rallies. So got rid of my BlackBerry a long time ago. So not. I know they're supposed to have super technology that people are going to be using. And isn't this an Andrew Leff pick too? Wasn't he real bullish this thing? I think that.
Yeah, I think so. A few months ago.
Bullish. I don't know. I mean, it's just dead money. Isn't it dead money?
Worth some money here, but really, you want to invest in companies that, okay, well, some of the parts here, when we break this all down, it's worth more. We saw how well that worked at GE, not comparing it to BlackBerry or anything, but I mean, this has been an eternal dog for a long time. We know Apple came out with their iPhone, and that was pretty much been the story here with BlackBerry, and it's not been able to come to life ever since. That being said, it hasn't went to zero either, so maybe there's some value in here. But I just think if this is going to be your big, like this is going to be the stock of the future, I think it was the stock of the past, and I just don't see it, turning around and taking on Apple or doing anything. Maybe they sell some patents, maybe it's got some value in it, but I'd rather invest in companies that are actually making money.
I just remember about 10 years ago, it seemed like every person on earth had a BlackBerry, and then overnight, no one did. It was really weird. It was
because Apple came out with this cool phone that it did everything. I mean, I can remember, and going back to 2007, and my buddy Chris, he was trading beside me on the trading desk back at Bright. That's back when we were still in the offices and stuff. And I could remember him coming in with that new. It wasn't the actual iPhone, because the iPhone hadn't been created yet. It was the beginning of it, though.
The iTouch.
It was
the iTouch.
It was their Walkman.
The iTouch.
It was called iTouch?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Is that what it was called?
Or
they had the iPod first, right?
Yes.
And that was the little thing. This was like the visual component. He walked in with that thing. I was like, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You could scroll through and see the artist and then tap on it. I was like, this thing is awesome. And you know what? I should have just turned around and put all my money in Apple that day in 2007, because that was like, I don't know what it would have been in 2007. You can go back and look at the charts, but the stock obviously significantly down. That was the start of it all. That cool iPod that they turned into visual component. Then they made the iPhone, and then it's just been off, and it's been gone ever since. So that was the moment. You get those moments, and those are the good investing moments, guys. Like when somebody comes in with the coolest product you've ever seen, and your jaw hits the desk. That's when you say, and obviously it's still got to be a valuation that it makes sense. You don't just want to pay thousands of times of earnings, or in some cases, the companies aren't making money, but that's, those jaw drop moments are usually your greatest investment opportunities. And I think back to that. I think it was 2007 or 2008. And I just, regret that moment. I didn't just take all my money and put it in Apple that day.
Just real quick, race here. Ferrari trading up 88 cents here. Filling a gap. I'm not sure what created this gap. Maybe it was earnings back on July 20th. You fill the gap here at 139.86 here. So let's see. I mean, if this open up, clears 140, just keeps on going, you have a high at 143.09. But nice long run here. If you're waiting for the gap fill, you're gonna get it today. Keep an eye on 140. Okay, Spencer, 9:03. We kept you a little bit late here. You want to wrap things up and preview Wednesday show?
Sure, we can do that. On tomorrow's show, we're going to be joined by Jonathan Corpina, Senior Managing Partner at Meridian Equity Partners. He'll join the show at 8:35. In the meantime, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch our podcast. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or Google Play, or just watch us on Benzinga's YouTube channel. Thanks to our guest today, Nick Shaheen. Thanks to everyone who joined us in our chats on premarket.benzinga.com and youtube.com/Benzinga TV. We really appreciate it. Just remember that all the information from our show is for information.
Oh, I'm making you sick.
Yeah. Informational purposes only, not meant to be investing advice. I've never been sick since I've been here, Dennis. So you're getting me sick through the internet. This is bad. That said, that'll be it for us. So everyone have a good day, and we'll see you on Wednesday.